Good morning, class. Thought I'd make a video of the solution to the Vertex form of the quadratic equation for real-world applications. So here it is. Let's see. So here we are inside the document. And this is our first set of equations, parabolas. And remember, we have 5 different parabolas here. One represents the driveway design, business profits, the pendulum, long jump, and temperature forecast. And remember, to solve these, we have to find h and k, where h, if we're looking at this particular parabola, the driveway, to find the h, it would be from 0 out to the center of the parabola. That distance, h, is minus 18 for this parabola. Then you go up to the vertex of the parabola, and that distance up is k. But another way to get the h and k is to simply go to the coordinates of the parabola. So instead of saying, okay, this is h and then k is this distance up here, let's just go to the vertex of the parabola. And what is the coordinates of the vertex of the parabola? Whatever the coordinates of the vertex of the parabola is, that will give you h and k. The x value of the vertex of the parabola is minus 18. That's here. And the y value of the coordinates of the parabola, which is 5, is equal to k. Okay, so the h is minus 18, the k is 5. The same here. The h for business profits is minus 10. See, that's the h. And the k is 16. The h for the pendulum is 0, and the k is 0. Okay. The h for the long jump is 8. This x is 8 here, and the k is 8. So h and k are 8. The h for the temperature forecast is 16, and the k is minus 14. So you see how we found the h and the k. We can find the h and k by just getting the coordinates of the vertex. H and k here is 8 and 8. H and k here is 0, 0. H and k here is minus 10, 16. H and k here is minus 18, 5. So it's the coordinates of the vertex, where you get the x value is here, the k value is here. H and k, h here is minus 10, k here is 16. H here is 0, k here is 0. H here is 8, k here is 8. H here is 16, k here is minus 14. Can't get simpler than that, folks. We found the h and k, and once we find the h and k, then we can go ahead and use those h and k's to answer our 5 questions. So let's go we're going to look at the driveway design. For the driveway design, we know that h and k, h is minus 18, k is 5. Here we're given a is equal to 2, so we'll put a equal to 2 there. So let's just go ahead and do this. 2 x minus minus 18. And if you want to get the square root here, what you do is you hold down the control key and hit the period button. That takes you up. You can put a 2 there. Then to get it to come back, you hit the control button and hit the period key again. Comes down, and you press. What is our K value? Is 5. Okay. I need another right paren there. Okay. And we see we have x minus h, but h is a negative 18, so that negative and that negative is going to make that a positive. So we're going to rewrite that as 2 times x plus 18. Then remember, to get our exponent here, it's going to be control period 2, and then hit control period again, brings us back down. That's a plus 5. Okay. Now we know the vertex is minus 18. The vertex is at minus 18 for h and 5 for k. We know the axis of symmetry is the value of a is the value of x that splits the parabola in half, and that occurs at x equals h, and h is equal to minus 18. Remember, that's the value of x that splits the parabola right in half. And since a is greater than 0, well, that wasn't supposed to be there yet. It's supposed to be just a something for us to answer. But now what we should say, since a is greater than 0, you see here the 2, a is greater than 0, so we say since a is greater than 0, then the parabola opens upward. That shouldn't have been there. The answer was already there. That should have been just a line. The parabola opens upward, so we put that now. Opens upward. And the vertex HK, you know HK is minus 18, 5, is a minimum at y equals 5. And remember, it's a minimum because the vertex, because the parabola opens upward, and the vertex is the lowest point of the parabola, so it's a minimum. This next one that we're about to do, the parabola is at the top. The vertex is at the top of the parabola, so it's a maximum. Here the vertex is at the bottom of the parabola, so it's a minimum. Okay, easy as smeezy. Let's go back to the driveway design. So now we've answered this. Now what we want to do is graph this. And so remember, the first thing we want to do, let's come right here, then hit the enter key. And so now we want to graph it here. Our cursor's there. So now we go up to add-ons, go get GMath, and we want to say create a graph. So what we want to do is clear this out. We want to type our equation. It's 2 parentheses x plus 18 parentheses. Now here, to do this, to get the square root, we have to type shift, the 6 key, and then 2. Then we say plus 5. Now for these graphs, we need a bigger range, a bigger area. So we're going to put in 22, hit the tab key. I'm sorry, that should be minus 22. So it's minus 22, hit the tab key, 22, hit the tab key, 2, hit the tab key, minus 22, hit the tab key, 22, hit the tab key 2. So you won't have to do this again as long as you keep this GMath up. It's only after you shut it down and you pull it up again that it's going to pull in those default values of -10, +10. Okay, so we go back into the document, make sure our cursor is underneath, is here, hit the insert button, and there's our graph. As you can see, it looks just like the graph. We go back up. It's just like the graph of the driveway, which shows that we are modeling the same parabola. Okay, so let's go to the next one here, and this is business profits. And for business profits, our H and K, you can see how we find our H and K. Just go to the vertex. Our H and K is -10 is our H, and K is 16. Boy, that was fast. Let's go see. Okay, this is business profits. So H is -10 and K is 16, and our A is a -1. And since A is a -1, this means that our parabola is going to fold downward, which means that our vertex is going to be at the top of the parabola. As you can see here, the vertex at the top of the parabola. That means our vertex is going to be a maximum. But let's write our equation. So we got A is -1. So it's a -1 times x minus, and we got a -10, so that's going to go in parentheses, a -10. H is a -10, and we do a control period to get that up there. That's a 2. Then a control period, bring it back down, and K is +16. We'll do 16. Now we're going to rewrite this again. -1 x and now it's going to be x plus, because we have a minus and a minus, so that's going to be a +10. X is equal to, H is equal to -10, and so we have x minus a -10, so x is equal to -10, but since we have a negative and a negative, this expression here is going to be positive. So that's +10. And then we say control period gets us up there, put our 2. Control period brings us back down. We say +16, because K is equal to 16. Okay, so this is what we'll actually graph when we get down to step 5. Here, H is -10, -10. K is 16. Again, the axis of symmetry is that x equals H, which is -10. And here, A is less than 0. Then the parabola opens downward. Whenever A is less than 0, the parabola opens downward. And again, the vertex is at -10, 16, and is a maximum. That shouldn't have been there. Okay, is a maximum at y equals 16. And you can see that here. The vertex is a maximum. It's at the top of the vertex at -10, y equals 16. and that's for the business profits. Now what we want to do, just a minute. So now what we want to do is graph this. We want to graph this equation here, so we need to put this equation here and here. So we'll just change some of these here. This becomes a -1. This becomes a 10. And this becomes a 16. And we know our cursor's right here, so we hit the insert button. That gives us this parabola, which looks just like this parabola for business profits. Okay, so let's go on to the pendulum, and we see that the pendulum, the H and the K are 0, because at the vertex we see the H and K are 0. So come back to the pendulum, speed of the pendulum. H is 0, K is 0, A is equal to 1. So what we have here is 1, 1, x minus 0, control period, 2, control period, let me say plus 0, because k is 0. But since those are all zeros, what this really is just saying is x squared. So it's x control period 2 control period. So we're really just saying y equals x squared. Okay. And again, h and k are 0, so we put 0 here, 0 here, and the axis of symmetry is at x equals h, but h is 0, so we put 0 there. And since a is greater than 1, a is greater than 0, that really shouldn't have been there. It should have been, we'll put that now, a is greater than 0. The parabola opens upward. And the vertex is at 0, 0. And it is a minimum at y equals 0. And we can see that, right? This is the parabola of the pendulum. The vertex is at the bottom of the parabola at y equals 0. So it's definitely a minimum because the vertex is at the bottom of the parabola. The parabola of the business profits, which we just did, is at the top of the parabola, so it's a maximum. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the long jump next. Before we do the long jump, we need to graph. We need to graph this x squared. So we got the cursor there. Let's come up and we need to graph x squared. So let's get rid of this and say x. Here we have to do shift 6 and 2. That's x squared. Get our document. And there we go, x squared. Okay. The next one is the long jump. And we see the coordinates of the long jump. The vertex is 8 and 8. So x, both h and k are 8. So let's go down to the long jump. And that's here. Okay, so and for the long jump we have a equals minus 0.5. And since a is negative, we know that the vertex is opening downward and that the vertex is going to be a maximum. A is negative. And you can see that the parabola is opening downward. A is negative, so that means that the vertex is going to be a maximum, and we can see that the vertex is at the top of the parabola, so it's a maximum. Alright, so let's go back down here, and again, let's fill in, let's plug and chug, fill in the blanks. So h and k are, well, what are h and k? Oh, h and k are 8 and 8. So the vertex, h is 8 and k is 8. Okay. So we want to fill that in here. We get a equals to minus 0.58. So we put that here, a equals to minus 0.58. So that's minus 0.5 x minus 8. I'm going to do a control period to control period plus 8. Okay, here we know h is 8, k is 8, here h is 8, and here we know that a is less than 0, so the parabola opens downward. And the vertex is at 8 and 8, and is a maximum at y equals 8. Now if we want to graph this, we take this equation here, put it up here. We got to change it, just a few things here. We have to put this a shift 6. Okay. And make sure the cursor's there. Hit insert doc. And there she is. Looks just like this one here. Okay, the next one is temperature forecast, and the h and k, just go to the vertex and see what is h and k. So h is the x-axis, that's 16, k is minus 14. So 16 minus 14. Let's go to the temperature. Here's the temperature. Our A is 4. So we put 4. That'll be x minus 16, because h was 16. And we say control period square, control period, and then, well, we'll see a minus 16, so it's minus 16. No, minus 14. K was minus 14. Okay. So the coordinates of the vertex was 16 and minus 14. The axis of symmetry is at x equals h, which equals 16. Remember, the axis of symmetry is the value of x that cuts the parabola right in half, and that's just equal to the value of h, which is 16. Cuts the parabola right in half. Here, a is greater than 0. That shouldn't have been there, but we'll put it there now. A is greater than 0, which means the parabola opens upward. The vertex is at 16 and minus 14. And it is a minimum because a is greater than 0, and the parabola is opening upward, and it happens at y equals minus 14. That vertex, that minimum is at y equals minus 14, as you can see. At y equals minus 14, the parabola is a minimum because it's at the bottom of the parabola. Okay, so now we need to graph this. So let's just take this formula here, put it up here. Just come in here and put in shift 6. Hit the insert dot. Voila, here we are. Okay, so what's next? Now we have 5 more to do. We got the new building entryway design, electricity price, Hale baseball team point average, penalty points in a football game, and long-range missile launch. Again, we're doing the same thing. We find the h and the k. And the h and the k for the new building design entryway, just go to the vertex, and whatever the coordinates of the vertex are gives us our value of h and k. So the coordinates of the vertex is minus 18. That's h, and k is equal to 16. Okay, so we'll come down here, new building entry design, and we have that our a is a minus 3, so that lets us know that we're going to have a parabola that opens downward, and the vertex here is going to be a maximum because it's at the top of the parabola. But let's go ahead and enter our values. A is equal to a minus 3 here, so that's a minus 3. Okay, x minus, and we got to put this in parentheses because we got h is equal to a minus 18. Parentheses, parentheses. Then we do a control period, 2, control period, and then this is at a plus 16. K is plus 16. Okay? I'm going to write this one more time because we have this negative, and a negative is going to make that a positive. So our equation is going to look like this. X plus 18. Then we do a control period. 2, control period, bring that down, plus 16. That's our equation. Okay, the x coordinates is, the coordinates of the vertex is minus 18, 16. The axis of symmetry h is at minus 18 because that's minus 18 is h. Since a is less than 0, the parabola is going to open downward, as we saw, and the vertex hk, where h is minus 18, k is 16, is a maximum at y equals 16. Okay? Since a less than 0, the parabola opens downward. The vertex vh of k, which equals minus 18, 16, is a maximum at y equals 16. Go up here. You can see it is a maximum at y equals 16. Now we want to graph it. So again, we'll take this equation here, put it up in our here, paste, we'll put the cursor right in front of that 2 and hit a shift 6. Gives us the proper character up there. Come down here, make sure our cursor's right under here. And we hit insert document. And there's our graph. Let's do the next one, electricity price. Electricity price, the h and the k are at, let's go to the vertex. At the vertex, the x value is negative 5, so that's our h. The y value is 5, so that's our k. So our h and k is minus 5 and 5. So let's go down and plug and chug. So here our electricity price, and our a value is a 1, which means that since it's greater than 0, our parabola must open upward. And we see it does. It opens upward, and this v, the vertex here, is at a minimum because it's at the bottom of the parabola. But let's just go ahead and finish that. So here we have a is equal to 1. So that's 1. And it's x minus, and since h is a negative 5, we put parentheses, minus 5, and we hit control period 2, control period, and k is equal to plus 5, we put 5. Now since we have a negative and a negative here, that's going to become a positive, so if we rewrite this, 1 times x plus 5, control period 2, control period plus 5. That's our equation. Vertex is at minus 5, 5. The axis of symmetry is at minus 5. Since a is greater than 0, we put greater than 0, the parabola opens upward, and the vertex hk is at minus 5. 5 is a minimum at y equals 5. Okay? Now we want to graph this. Make sure the cursor's there. Go up here and copy our formula. Put that here. Go right in between the right paren and the 2 and hit a shift 6. Okay. We can insert this in our document. Just make sure the cursor's there. Insert. Voila! There we go. Okay. Alright, let's see, what is our next one? Nathan Hale baseball team, average score per game. We got A equals 6. This was an error. This is supposed to be A equals -6. Sorry, guys. But you know what? Carlton Buford, Mr. Bufy, is human. Mr. Bufy is human. Sorry, guys. I am human. I apologize. I apologize for being human. Okay. So, let's see here. Oh, this got mixed up a little bit. Let's see, the axis of symmetry. You know how that happened. It was supposed to be separate questions. Had to break that back out. Okay, so let's Nathan Hale baseball team. Let's go find the H and K for Nathan Hale baseball team average score. So if we look, okay, here's the parabola for Nathan Hale baseball team, and we see at the vertex is here. What is the value of x? The value of x is 0, and the value of k is 10. See, because we're right on the y-axis, the value of x is 0, and the value of k is 10. See, when we were here, the value of x was -5. The value of k, the value of y is 5, which was k. And so here, the value of x is 0, but the value of k is 5. Okay? So let's go plug and chug that into our equation for Nathan Hale baseball team when we're modeling it. Okay, A is equal to -6, which means that that parabola is going to fold downward, and our vertex is going to be a maximum. But you can see here, the parabola folds downward, and the vertex is at the top of the parabola, so it's a maximum. Okay, let's go and do our plug and chug. A is equal to -6. That'll be x minus 0 because h is equal to 0. Control period is 2. Control period plus k is equal to 10. Okay, and that's our formula. We could write that a little different since x is equal to 0. I mean, since k is equal to 0, we could actually make this a little different. We just say minus 6x control period 2 control period plus 10. Since we have that 0 there, that's all we really need. We don't need the parentheses there since we don't have a, since h is equal to 0. Okay, since h is 0, k is 10. This is the vertex, coordinates of the vertex. The axis of symmetry is at x equals h equals 0. And since a is less than 0, the parabola opens downward. And the vertex VH of h of k, which is 0, 10, is a minimum, is a maximum at y equals 10. Okay, so let's graph that. We can take this here, copy, put her up here, paste, and we just have to get in between that x and that 2 and put a shift 6 Make sure our cursor's here, and let's graph it. Voila! Let's see what's next. Okay, penalty points in a football game. We have A's greater than 1, and since A's greater than 1, we know that parabola is going to fold upward, and our vertex is going to be a minimum. Let's go see. Yes, see penalty points in a football game. A is positive, so the graph opens upward, which means our vertex is going to be a minimum because it's at the bottom of the parabola. And let's find our h and k. So we go to the vertex and see what is the value of x and y for our vertex, which will be our h and k. So our x value here is a 6, our y value is a minus 16. So h and k is 6 as h, and k is minus 16. So let's go plug and chug for the penalty points in a football game. Okay, a is equal to 1, so that's 1 times x minus, what's that? Minus 6. H was 6. That'll be control period 2, control period, and that was minus 16. Okay, h and k were 6 and minus 16. The axis of symmetry is that h equals 6. A is greater than 0. And the parabola opens upward. The vertex is 6 and minus 16 is a minimum at y equals minus 16. And it's a minimum at y equals minus 16, as we can see here, because it's the lowest, it's at the bottom of the parabola. The parabola opens upward. So that's why we know it's a minimum. And it's always a minimum at the k value, minus 16. Okay, so this is the one we're going to do next. You can see it's going to be a maximum because it's at the top of the parabola. And the top of the parabola is always at the k value, which is 14. But let's go finish this one. We need to graph it. So let's go back down to the penalty points in a football game. Penalty points in a football game. Make sure our parabola, our cursor's there. I'm going to go grab this formula, copy and paste here. We need to put our shift 6. Put our cursor here. Insert in document. Voila. There we have our parabola, which is a perfect example. The very same parabola as the one that we were modeling, attempting to model here of the penalty points in a football game. So it shows that we made the correct, we were modeling that correctly here. And finally we have long-range missile launch, and we see that A is less than negative. A is going to be a -1, which means it's less than 0. That means our parabola is going to fold downward, and our vertex is going to be a maximum because it's at the top. Our vertex is at the top of the parabola. which is what we see here. So let's get our h and k. If we go to the vertex, we'll see that the x value is 16, so that's h, and the y value is 14, so that's k. So they're both positive. Again, the h is 16, k is 14. Let's go plug and chug. Okay, here we got a is equal to a -1. So we say -1, and we have x minus 16, because h is 16. We say control period to control period, and we've got k is 14, so that's plus 14. Here h is 16, k is 14, h is 16. It's the axis of symmetry. A is less than 0, so the parabola opens downward. The vertex VH of k, where h is 16, k is 14, is a maximum at y equals 14. So if we want to graph this, make sure the cursor's there. Let's go get the little negative sign there. Copy this in here. Put the cursor between the right paren and the 2, hit shift 6, so get a little character in there. Make sure the cursor's in the right place, hit insert doc, and that's it. We're done, guys. See, that's our parabola. Looks just like this here, the long-range missile. And we're done. Hope this video helps. Thank you.